Almas and Sweta, congratulations. I wish you all the very best for the launch of this book.
Yes, you have to hold your niche, but then build personal brand. Very true. Read Bhagavad Gita, read Quran. Look at, all the few hundred years. So many things have changed, but books are here to stay. Also, yes, they are going to now read books differently, or they are going to eat it differently. So I have two things here to ask. How can one adapt their mindset to actually make that happen in one book? I'll give you an example here. You go for a tea or you go out and have a samosa and then you start calculating. कि वो एक समोसा मतलब कितने समोसे उसको बेच दिए या एक घंटे में. How much he must be earning? You might have seen some reels also on this that people calculate, people get excited, and then after going home they know nothing about it. And we are moving to AI generated content where AI writing assistants being used for even composing emails, essays. I think which was a basic and a core thing which we were taught during school, right? Yeah. We were supposed to do creative writing. We were supposed to write good essays, good letters, and now everything is being automated. So in this era, you're saying there are set of people who are so focused, channeling their thoughts, writing with book for book, but then there has to be the recipient at the other end, which who has to receive that content. Now when we look at the recipient side, we see that the AI and the social media rising up has taken up the entire market and the people's pretensions have dropped. Yes. So do you still think in this era it is worth writing a book? If you look at Netflix and if you look at Instagram, whatever you watch, you don't remember next week after a few seconds. That's all temporary. So books are going to stay. If you look at several generations back, something that has been constant since then to now are books. Writing is a passion or is it a profession? So it's like, is singing your hobby or you want to make money also? Both it can be. It can be a passion as well. When you just want it to be your creative outlet, you want to express, then it becomes your passion. But then you're so passionate about it, you want it to be full time. And if you want it to actually make you bread and butter as well, then it becomes profession. In the world where AI writes essays, tweets go viral, and the retention span of people are decreasing day by day, do you still believe that you still need the soul of a writer to be an author? So today on my show Unheard Tales Podcast with your host Divya Gupta, we will be unveiling the unknown, unheard stories of writing a book. We are going to talk about the myths, mysteries, and also unheard stories behind book writing. To talk about this topic, we have the subject matter expert Sweta Somata ji, who is also the founder of IAA, which is Indian Authoring Academy. Welcome on my show, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Divya, for having me. So the first question which I would like to ask is, do you believe that being a good writer makes a good author? Like, how is it? A lot of people think that they have to be really good at writing. But if you look at the books published, say for example, Twilight Festival or other books, when people started, they weren't writers, good writers. They weren't even trained in creative writing. They didn't have any degree in literature. So it's not a prerequisite that you have to be a good writer to actually write a book. If you look at Mahatma Gandhi, he himself says that I am not made for literary craft. He himself said that whatever I have written is nothing is original. If you look at his words, so what worked for him was expression, experiences, intention to share. So a good author, we can become good authors by learning all of this, having an intention to share. So if someone has the intention, I want to write a book, I want to share this, then having great writing skills is not compulsory. Another thing which comes to my mind is I've heard that being a writer means you need to have ideas, you need to be good storyteller. But does that also mean that you need to be very good in grammar, or you need to know the style of writing has to be there? Because I've heard that many authors have got their own writing style, and because of their writing style or format, they are very well known. So is that when it comes to language like grammar, do you have to be very good in grammar? Today in the age of AI, I would say you don't have to be. But if you don't really know a language, say for example English, and someone is like, "Mujhe English mein, I want to write in English only." Then I would say is that if you know a grade 8 level English, you're good to write a book. Grade 8 English is good to write a book. Yes. Why? Because the simpler the language, the more people can connect. You don't have to have vocabulary like Shashi Kapoor. You have to have simple language like Sudha Murthy or Chetan Bhagat. If you look at their books, they're very simply written. But what matters, people don't read their books for learning language. They read their books because they connect with them. They love the stories they share, the emotions that they can invoke. So those things can be learned. So language plus what else you asked? I think grammar and writing style. Writing style. Now writing style also one develops over time. If you look at Tagore, when he started, he didn't have a style. He didn't have a style. He started writing at the age of 8. Since the age of 8, he's been writing. So what he used to do is, he used to mimic essays, poetry, writing style of others. Like कोई म्यूजिक सीखता है तो कैसे मिमिक पहले करते हैं, सारे गमा पद्धति से पहले सीखते हैं, उसके बाद they get their own style. Similarly for writing, they start, anyone can start with writing. Instead of when we go to school, we don't directly go to grade 10. We go from nursery and then from there on. So for authors also, you start with one book, you learn and keep polishing your book, keep working on your book. But it shouldn't be like that. When I'm perfect, then only I'm going to publish the book. It never happens like that. You start at any age and any experience before? Yes, any age, any experience. And also, it's not compulsory that you have to write in English only or one particular language. Whatever language you are comfortable with, you share that in that language. And I think that is well said, that when you have your emotions to express, the language which comes out at that time when you're angry or when you're happy, that is basically the language of your emotion, and that is the language you should choose for, I think, even for expressing yourself, even for writing a book. Yes. So now another question is that we are talking about Tagore, and I'm curious to know that today I came to know that he wasn't very when he started living now. So can you take some more example of such writers who were legend writers who began writing and they were not very exceptionally very good while they started and eventually they grew? Tagore is one example because he grew up in a family of literary legends. His father, his brothers, all had a family. All were very good in writing books or writing essays, composing poems and songs. So for him, what worked, and plus he was homeschooled, he never went to school. So if you look at Tagore, a lot of people say that he didn't learn, but he was actually learning every single day from his family. Plus he also went to London. He didn't go to London for learning writing, he went for law. But there, he actually, instead of law, he learned English language, the nuances, cross-cultural exploration helped him as a writer. And he also got the Western thought from it. Just another example of Mahatma Gandhi. He started writing, he wrote Hind Swaraj, his voyage. He also, when he started, he wasn't a great writer and author, but it came as a duty for him that he needs to share. His experiments with truth also happened similarly. Same with Stephanie May. She had a dream, and she had a dream with two people in it, one human and one non-human. One human and one non-human. Yes. That dream didn't let her sleep, but she was a homemaker. She wasn't even going out or learning something. And then that dream didn't let her sleep. And we know Twilight has sold 169 million copies. So she also started today. She's doing the work that she has done. Amazing. So she also started not as a writer. Then Sudha Murthy, she started with a simple article in a magazine. And from there today, and that was really good response. From there today, we see that she has grown as a prolific, very well.
And she's famous among kids. I mean, kids love reading their book. It's like a bedtime go-to kind of book.
Yes.
Even my family's.
And the stories are born out of her own experience. If you look at her grandma's story, grandma Bata's stories, or her experience, born out of her own experience and imagination. So she also, if you look at her grammar is accurate, but language is not like very difficult to understand. And that's why she's very popular, because everyone can understand the language she's saying.
What is the mindset which a writer or an author needs to adapt to be a very, well-known, legendary writer or author? How should one evolve towards writing a book? Like you said, that the author had a dream of writing a book. She had a story to do. Many times people do not have a nightmare of writing a book. They should simply have some idea, some thought which comes to your mind, knocks your door of your mind, say 2 or 3 days, and then it just vanishes. Or then again you have like a flash of something that, I could have built a little more on that. You think for 2-4 days,
Yes.
and then it doesn't build up as a story, or it doesn't come into being.
Yeah.
So how can one adapt their mindset to actually make that happen in a book?
I'll give you an example here. You go for a tea, or you go out and have a samosa, and then you start calculating. कि वो एक समोसा कितने समोसे उसने बेच दिए एक महीने या एक घंटे में. How much he must be earning? You might have seen some reels also on this, that people calculate, people get excited, and then after going in home, they know nothing about it.
Yeah.
We get so many ideas like that. So it goes back to purpose. It goes back to your mission. It goes back to that burning desire कि मुझे करना है. And people mistake it to inborn talent. It's a spark that you should have कि मुझे कुछ करना है. So that is one thing. Then only you can go to the next step, which is developing a mindset of an author. Now, author needs to understand the audience, what the readers want to do, and then you can repurpose your writing in several ways to cater to your audience. So, mindset-wise, you should be very focused because there's a lot of distraction today. Second is you should learn how to build system. Earlier, authors, they relied on publisher to actually do everything. They would just go and do the book launch, come back, and then make some public appearances and write in magazines. Today, as an author, you need to understand how do you build a system, how do you learn marketing. So, mindset-wise, they need to be focused, and they also need to build system. Need to know how to build their tribe and how to engage with their tribe. That's also important. And when people see so much, they get overwhelmed. I have to do so many things to actually get there. So that is why you also need to have visualization, affirmations, so that you are on track and you're also manifesting things around you. So those things are very important. So simply said, having goals help, meaning focused on your goals. That this is what I'm having planned for next 1 year or so, or 3 years. Then having visualization and information practices, building a system, and then building a community with the help of your system.
Now, with this conversation, I think there are too many segments and questions which is coming up in my mind. To start with the first one, it's like I just want to know what is the minimum, because I know maximum you can stretch up to any number of years for writing a book or holding a book. But what is the minimum duration a person could take or have taken to write a book?
Oh, actually 2 days, 3 days is enough to write a book.
2 and 3 days to write a book.
I think The Boy in Striped Pajamas, that famous book, it was only just 2 days.
In 2 days.
So, and even Bond series, every month was coming in one book out. How was it? That's what I teach in my 90 of time. In fact, we are now calling it a success of the month. And we help people write and get published in 45 days or less.
45 days.
Yes. So write and publish. So we help them write from topic selection, what should be the idea that you should choose, because people have a lot of ideas. But then not everything is going to work in the market, or not everything is going to make a lot of money for them. So we start with that, and then writing takes less than a week, but we give them 15 minutes to write. Help them go through a flow state. So how can people write in 2 weeks, 3 days, 1 week? If I look at my few books recently published, they all were done in few days. So there's a state of our brain that we call it as a flow state, where our prefrontal cortex slows down. So when it slows down, you're very focused in zone, and when you are able to write a lot in less time. Their overthinking is not there. Your left side brain is not saying you're not good enough that time. You don't have self-doubts. A lot of times why people take it's because so it's called flow state where you're really working on the right side of the brain. So that is what I teach people to go into their flow state, and then once people start, they're more able to stop. So that's how 2 to 3 days they are done with it. So it's like opening a tap, and then the water is going to just flow. So that's.
Now, this is the one side of, I think, humans, which you're saying during this era, when we see, we have moved from paperback to Kindle, and we are moving to AI-generated content, where AI writing assistance is being used for even composing emails, essays, I think which was a basic and a core thing which we were taught during school, right? Yeah. We were supposed to do creative writing, we were supposed to write good essays, good letters, and now everything is being automated. So in this era, you're saying there are set of people who are so focused, channeling their thoughts, writing for book, but then there has to be the recipient at the other end, which who has to receive that content. Now, when we look at the recipient side, we see that the AI and the social media rising up has taken up the entire market, and the people's retentions have dropped.
Yes.
So, do you still think in this era it is worth writing a book?
If you look at Netflix and if you look at Instagram, whatever you watch, you don't remember next book after a few seconds. That's all temporary. So books are going to stay. If you look at several generations back, something that has been constant since then to now, books.
Very.
Read Bhagavad Gita, read Kodak. Look at all the few hundred years. So many things have changed, but books are here to stay. Also, yes, they are going to now read books differently, or they are going to eat it differently.
So I have two things here to ask. Now that you clarified it, books are still different, books are still to do.
Yes.
There are two things which pop up again in mind. One is that now we have to also cater the audience.
Yes.
And the retention we are saying.
Yes.
So does the author needs to adapt? Because we have seen, we have seen that there were long form videos in previous days. There was long form videos.
Yes.
Now shorts have taken up.
Yes.
Even in shorts, as content creator, we find it very difficult to retain viewers 1 minute of time.
Yeah.
So within 15 seconds, within 30 seconds, any content creator is supposed to keep that hook and those things in there in place,
Yes.
so that people retain. So even 15 seconds retention is not there.
Yes.
So is there something writers are also adapting to make sure that they decreasing the size of the paper, or what changes are they doing to sustain that?
If you watched Vijay Mala's podcast with Harsh, you did?
I did, and it was 4 hours long, and everybody did watch it. I think 3x or 2x.
Yes. So one thing is for sure that people want good content, relatable content, storytelling has to be there. So it doesn't matter if you're doing a long book or a short book. If you're a good storyteller, people are going to read your book. That's one thing which that podcast proved. And it was top of the country, actually top of the world. So 4 hours if people can spend there, chalo 2x maybe kar do, 2 घंटे correct. And it has nothing to do with them, but they wanted to know the story. So here, if as an author, learn how to hook your audience. So today, people want to be hooked. Earlier, इतना important नहीं था, एक chapter boring भी होता था, first chapter. People would go on and read because they knew something was coming. Today, their tolerance has come down. So they need to hook your audience with. Authors have to hook their audience fast. So if they can hook the audience fast in the first paragraph itself, that's what I tell my authors, that you have to hook them right in the first chapter itself, the first paragraph, so that they generate that interest, they're curious, they want to read more, So that's one thing as an author that you need to adapt. Okay. Second is people are hooked to Instagram why? Or to shorts why? Because they want that dopamine hit. So if they learn this page turning psychology, this is what I teach in my psychology. How do you hook your audience, and then how do you give those dopamine hits every 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs? That's again an art that they need to learn. That earlier it used to be like a chapter, 2 chapters with dopamine because people were tolerating because they had no distractions. Here, they will sit with your book for 2 hours, so you have to hit the dopamine a lot of times. So that's the second thing that they need to learn, that you need to hit the dopamine through various techniques. Third thing is, if you look at how the social media algorithm has evolved, they love storytelling. People love to watch relatable content. That's one of the reasons why they watch Vijay Mallya's podcast and all other podcasts also, why they're doing it, because they love storytelling. So if you can, even non-fiction books, if you can include storytelling, include relatable content in it, people will love it.
We're talking about dopamine to be made. Now, not all genres are
all
same. All have.
And I teach that in my course. How do you?
So, first question here, just from an audience who may be a new beginner who might not know what genre is. So, maybe if you can tell what are the different genres in books. Maybe if you can tell different genres, and then we can talk about which genres are the one which has got most dopamine, and how does the writer adapt? Because to me, if you ask, I read less of fiction and I read more of inspiring stories, which actually helps me grow. I read more of, I say, biographies and all that. I know it's boring at times, but then I love knowing about someone's life when I read that. It's not everybody reads it. So what do you have to say?
So broadly, there's fiction genre, non-fiction, there's poetry, and there's academics. Everything related to school, college, higher studies, and specific subjects, entrance exams, all of that comes under academic. Poetry, it's about your expression, emotions, about a particular event or a movement or a particular image or a scene, so that's poetry. And fiction is out of your imagination stories. I think fiction comes from romance, thriller, mystery, children's fantasy, fairy tales, all of that comes under fiction. Drama. So it's about out of your imagination. It's not real. Fiction, non-fiction is all real. Facts, self-help books, memoir, biography, autobiography, books on finance, books on personal growth, time management, success, wealth making. All of that comes, relationships, all of that comes under non-fiction. Now, when it comes to dopamine hit, all the books have to be having this particular thing in them.
Even in biography, of course. And how do people tweak that story?
It's not to add, just understand when dopamine is released.
When you start engaging in something, you start loving that content, you want to have more of it.
So right now,
the urge of having more of it, I think that's.
So dopamine is getting released when you raise the curiosity and you fulfill it. So every time you ask a question and I answer it, dopamine is sitting in your body. When I'm asking and I'm answering, I'm raising your curiosity and I'm actually answering and dopamine is sitting in your body. So that's one way of dopamine hit. Now when you look at Instagram, you just look at any reel, it's hook. You want to know it, what is there. When they actually satisfy you, dopamine is hit. As simple as that, 3 seconds. 3 seconds or 10 seconds. Same goes for your book. Every page, you need to ensure that you're raising your curiosity, fulfilling it. Then new curiosity, fulfilling it. So it's called as opening the loop and closing it. And one loop is not closed, and it gets closed only at the end. So there'll be one big loop, and then many small loops. So it's like this. So one big chain, and then small, many curry.
Joins the entire circuit to complete that entire story.
Yes. So that's how we release dopamine, we release oxytocin, we release endorphins, and I've done a TEDx talk also stories on entirely how stories build leaders and how leaders know this fact and how leaders use stories to make people love them. Not just leaders, but movie stars, how I love movies, and all of this we listen to even the top leaders and why we love watching them is because of different biological, chemical reactions and releases that are happening in the body. So I've explained this in my lecture.
And I think that is the basics of being a leader. You have to be a good storyteller. Because you talked about a lot of writing style, and that was my first question where I asked that whether you should just have ideas and storytelling skill, or is it also about the style? So what I figuring out is like the style is also equally relevant to the art of storytelling, right? So you need to have a good writing, that pattern in being a storyteller.
Yes, so style, it will evolve. Probably when someone starts, they don't even know what is their style. But once they explore it, they will get to know its strengths. And then they will be able to utilize it and repeat it across books. So initially when anyone starts, they won't know their style. If anyone starts singing or playing an instrument, they don't know their style. But when they actually do it repetitively, that is when they will realize this is my strength and this is my style.
Writers keep switching between genres, like today I am writing a non-fiction book, tomorrow I can write a fiction book. So do they, like in content creating, it's being said that you have to stick to a niche. So we all stick to a niche. Suppose if I'm doing a podcast now, here I cannot put a travel blog on this channel. So I have to be very particular about what I'm putting in. And the world is talking about niche. So what happens to authors? So do they stick to
there are
a
two
niche?
things here. One is when people say that they will do it only in one niche and you first become master of that niche, then only open up the second niche. My mentor Russell says that you should not be opening the next funnel until you earn $1 million. But then the second view is, what if you want to explore all the genres first and then realize, okay, what is my strength, what am I enjoying the most? Say you did a fiction novel first, say a mystery thriller you did first, then you did another fantasy, then you did a romance, 3, but they are all still in fiction. But then you realize that in non-fiction, if you look at Chetan Bhagat, he's explored all the genres. If you look at J.K. Rowling, she had fantasy, but she had she had mystery thriller with another name, pen name. You know that? Yeah. So that's her pen name was different genre. So again, it's up to us to decide as a mentor whether we want to explore different genres or not. Also on social media, because we said it's a myth actually that you shouldn't be sharing about your personal life or some other thing rather than. Imagine you're doing 4 podcasts and in between you did a vlog. It will get good views and it will increase your credibility and authority because people will connect with you as a person. So when it comes to Instagram, of course you should be very niche focused and you create 5 to 6 pieces of content which is based on your niche, but there has to be always a pattern, a pattern break. When you break a pattern, there's an exciting event, you start a story. Pattern leads to a dopamine hit as well. So there's a science here which people need to understand. That is why you can write different genres. It's not that you cannot. I tell my authors, you explore your heart out and then come back to the niche that really connects you.
I agree with your idea of exploring niche because that's what I have done in my previous channel where you see I have got a channel where I explore people, places and products. So I do all of that. And yes, I gradually understood what is my niche, what my audience is looking for in the video. But then it also, some people tell me that, then what should we look for in your channel? And suppose if I take you that you are an expert for a product review, now you have started saying something about your travel. So you're not interested in this, you're interested about this. The same thing I think happens for the author as well, right? So if I think...
So, I'll just add here, when Lavalier started, he started to push. Then he saturated. What saturated? He had to explore another niche. Today he's doing it. So it has to be large enough. What do you choose? And plus people might think that, okay, what are you known for? Yes, you have to hold your niche, but then build personal brand. Why should we box ourselves as only one type of person when I can be so many people? I mean, everyone has so many qualities. Why you have to say I am only a romance author or I'm only a chocolatey hero. These actors also are exploring different genres. Because once they get boxed into one, their growth stops. Have you seen that? And then they have to reinvent themselves.
And the late you do, that it becomes hard for them to make the audience, buy it because
Yes.
they did not start in the right time, and then the audience do not accept that. Now with this, let's move to another segment where I would now like to know about publishing a book. Like, first thing is, how viable is it for an individual to publish a book on their own? I know there are publishing houses which help them. But for an individual who does not have so much of money to spend, how viable is it for them to launch a book on their own, and how can they do so?
So first, people don't even know that they can publish their book on their own. Probably you will ask your
I know. That's why I raised it because I know one of my relatives who's actually a very good writer, but then she doesn't know how to reach or approach because she's scared of the money which might be needed. And that's why I wanted my audience to come to know about a bit of how they can come out of the shell and write a book.
One is you don't need a publisher to do it. Just like earlier, it was like you needed someone to actually promote you or launch you as an author, a big publishing house to be there for you. Today it's not needed. You can actually self-publish your book on Amazon, Flipkart. That's what I teach. They can attend free webinar. But yes, there are multiple types of publishing options available. One is traditional, where you go to the publishing house, set a sample chapter. Each of these traditional publishing houses, they have their websites. They have shared what they need from you, a sample chapter synopsis. You send them, but probably they won't reply. Why? Because their focus is more on celebrities, influencers, that kind of people who already have a good following. All they have to publish all they have to do is publish a book and make money.
Yeah.
They don't want to take that risk. Now, I also look from their perspective, why should someone invest in a person? Because they are going to make put money for printing and that full production process. So, on a person who doesn't have a standing. So that would be a big risk when they go behind a celebrity or an influencer. Their risk is very low because they know the audience is ready. So one is traditional publishing. The timing is like few years, the royalty is very, very low. But then they are investing. You don't have to pay. But what is also happening now is traditional publishing houses, they might ask you if you are an unknown and you have got a contact, they might ask you to pay a lump sum, a few lakhs. They would be ready to publish it. Second is vanity publishing houses where, because in the last 10 years, huge difference, huge leap in this industry. Earlier, only traditional publishing was there. Then in the last 10 years, because Amazon came out with UTP, the self-publishing platform, because of that, a lot of publishing houses have come in. They're all vanity, meaning you pay and get published. There's no screening as such.
There is no screening. So nobody will be reading your book or assessing what you have written.
No, they are all paid services. So you pay to get book edited, you get your book edited, you have to pay. Cover designing, pay. So that is all pay model. Pay to serve, pay to get that service model. So that's vanity. What is the difference between vanity and traditional? The time in vanity publishing will be lesser. In traditional, probably you will not get a reply. In vanity, the royalty rates may be higher. But then, in both the cases, marketing has to be done by you. In traditional also, marketing has to be done by you. In hybrid, vanity also, marketing has to be done by you. Advantage of traditional, they would give you a space or distribution in retail space. The bookstores are not. In case of vanity, again, this charge you. They're okay, we will give you space in 25 bookstores for 1 year or 6 months, and this is the fee you need to pay. 30,000, 40,000, depending on the stores. And if they're eco stores, even higher. And then comes hybrid. Hybrid is a mix of vanity and offline or retail distribution. And there's a fourth one, which is what I do, self-publishing. And then where publishing takes few hours. Few hours, yes. 72 hours is the max. Then investment is zero. And copyright is with you. Marketing in all the cases will be done by you. And royalty is highly incentivized. Royalty is 35% to 70% royalty. So that's
Maybe I will share the link to connect with you for the audience who is looking for self-publishing. The link for connecting to her is in the description box. Please go and check it out. And you can connect to our webinar section and attend and understand how to get the book published. Writing is a passion or is it a profession?
So it's like, is singing your hobby or you want to make money also? Both it can be. It can be a passion as well. When you just want it to be your creative outlet, you want to express, then it becomes a passion. But then you're so passionate about it, you want it to be full time. And you want it to actually make you bread and butter as well, then it becomes a passion. So passion, plus I would say systems, marketing system, book funnel. If you have it, then you can become more full time profession as well.
When it comes to profession, someone is very keen in writing a book, they have chosen a profession, then how much does it actually pay you so that you can take it as a full-time profession? So in today's era, I know that in the past it has been a full-time job for someone because I also read authors who used to get disconnected completely from the world when they would write. 6 months, 7 months, you retire, they will rarely reply you back and they will keep on writing the book. Now in this time, people have to be so focused, writing a book. How much does it pay you back?
So again, it will vary from book to book and person to person and what kind of system they are building, what kind of book they are writing. Because how well they are able to influence their audience, what is their writing style. So the answer is not straightforward, but still anywhere from 5,000 per month to 50,000 per month is doable. And if you include a funnel, if you include some more things like you can give consulting, you can give courses, you can do a lot of things around it, then you can easily do few lakhs per month. Also, I train people so they can use this book as a personal brand building tool. So then that book can actually make you a crore or more by using it as a tool, as a lead magnet or a business making machine. But the start is the book.
Like when you publish the book, it will be printed. Now the print has gone down, it is going to Kindle. And also there are channels which are just reading the book and making a summary of it. So is it impacting the actual revenue generation of book writing?
So one is yes, people are reading books in different ways. So your Kindle money, revenue will come to you. It's not that you are not going to get paid, but you will read your book. Now piracy will always be there. People making summary and sharing is also good for you. Ask me how. How? Because they are actually spreading your name. You're building a brand with it. So for that you need to have a system in place, and you have to have a way to capture your audience from your social media. If someone is reading a summary, and if it's good for you. Someone actually made the job easier for you. Otherwise, to get a person to actually purchase and read your book is an expense because you're spending on ads. But if someone is doing that for you for free, so that is why systems is very important. So good thing is, if this is all happening for you, you need to know how to build a system, how to capture that audience, read the summary, and serve them more. If they're coming to you from there, that means they are already warm audience. So shouldn't be writing just one book. Also, there is a word or phrase called as capture people. There will be always some people who will use your content, make short form and put it.
Yeah.
But then you should be ready for second and third and fourth and fifth book. That's why Robin Sharma is also surviving. So you should be able to do that. So when people are making content for your first book, you're already running second. Then when they're doing second, they are playing a catch-up game with you. They will never be able to. They will be actually supporting you in your journey.
So there's no piracy involved in it. Because suppose I have a YouTube channel. There are plenty of YouTube channels who is doing this podcast of books basically. They read the book and they summarize it. And is there any piracy involved? Because are they authorized to do so?
So if they
Without
are
taking consent at all.
if they are using the book name and if they are saying the author name, giving them proper credit, there's no problem. Because we authors want people to talk about this. We authors want people to talk about our book. So imagine if someone made a summary of my book, The Running Effect, and people have done that. 10 people or 100 people watch it, and it's summary. They love it. They're like, I want to go deeper into it and I actually want to read it. That is acting as a promotional material to go ahead, for people to go ahead and read that. So look the book पढ़ेंगे जिनको पढ़ना है.
And then I think it is again like a movie trailer. If you have trailer दिखा रहे हो तो curiosity आएगी, and then obviously you will like to read that book. Complete book. I think which is why we also run smaller reels, smaller shorts, so that you then want to get hooked up and you end up watching the full podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
And with this, I would like to request the audience. So if you're watching this podcast and if you're liking it, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and also watch this video and share it with the young readers and the young writers at your home who actually have got plenty of ideas to write and might not know how to bring their ideas on paper. So it will be very helpful. So with this, ma'am, I would like to ask, is there any other thing which you think is not very known fact about writing a book, authoring a book to the common audience?
One very important thing that worked for Lavalier or Shakespeare, or for that matter, any successful author, is the environment. A lot of authors, they get influenced by people who have not made it there, and they will be like, hey, what are you doing this? So being in the right environment really helps people to grow. So be in the environment that supports you. Be in the environment that tells you that you can do this. Second is, a lot of authors don't know that accountability, having a mentor really helps. If you are having a right mentor, one person who can see the expert in you, one person who can see that you can do this, that really matters. So if you get a right mentor, right support, right accountability and right community, where you see others doing it, then you will take it. अगर उसने कर लिया तो मैं भी करूँ. So that really helps.
And this is so well said, ma'am, because this is not just a case, I would say, with book writing. I think it is with any other space, anything which you want to do in life. You need to first understand what will take you towards that direction, because if you are tied to, I think, many threads which are not taking you to the direction where you want to head, then you are going nowhere and you're just sitting at a place. So it's better to surround yourself with that ecosystem which attracts you to the place where you want to reach. Here I would also like to ask on behalf of audience, because maybe some of them might not be convinced yet that why we need that environment, or that mentorship to be there around you when you're building on some idea. It may not be a book writing specifically, but can be any idea which you want to go. Yeah.
There was a phase in my time where I was going for a Kodak. To give you a little background, I'm a software engineer, then turned entrepreneur, and today I am the founder of DSLR. So how it happened was, after software engineering, I took my job and I started. I didn't work well, fortunately or unfortunately. From there, I went into a slum where I went through anxiety, depression. At one point in time, I decided, I just want to live my life. That was the time when I got into running. I saw my daughter and I was like, I cannot do this because she's there, my family is there, and I had no problem in the family. The problem was here, that I'm the failure, I'm no one, I'm not enough, something like that. So when I saw in her eyes, I was like, I'm not this person. I am someone else. And that day I decided I'm going to do something. So I went out of my house. I was suffering from agoraphobia and consulted a psychologist. They said that you have this phobia of going out of comfort zone, going out of my house. Every time I used to step out, I used to have some different sensations. I used to feel like suffocating, that there won't be any breath, and that no one would be there to me, something like that. Despite that, I stepped out and I started doing 7 kilometers, 1 kilometer, walk. 1 year I was able a few kilometers, and then I started running it, walk around. That's how I did 5 kilometers, then 10, then 20, then 40. So I'm full marathonist. So how I came out from there is, I saw women of double my age running. I joined Pinkerton but I saw my magic part in my mentors. When I saw these women who were double my age, having different problems in their life, still doing it, that really inspired me. Like, ye kar sakte hain. At the age of 16 and 17, they're so fit and they're able to do it. Who am I at 35 and can't. So when I saw them, that is when it inspired me. Community, they helped me, they supported me to go from few kilometers, few actually meters, to like 42 kilometers. It took me 3.5 years to reach that. So community, a mentor really helps. And there is a figure that Vishen says that if you go without a mentor, and that's why हमारे इसमें गुरु को बहुत ज़्यादा क्यों? क्योंकि if you are without a mentor, your struggle would be very big.
Yeah. Because you do not know what direction to go.
Exactly. Plus, if you have a mentor, वो जो है ना नीचे आएगा ही नहीं. Because someone has already gone through that path, and someone already has the experience, they would directly go take you from here to here. So if you see people, they already had mentors. Whoever reached there. Look at Modi ji also. I book 9 is on his mentors. The 9 unknown men, Ashoka's unknown. I was really inspired by that time. So I took Modi ji. He took me. I took Modi ji, and I then created a nice mystery on his mentors. And the 9 unknown men, I've shared his mentors. So if you look at him, how he was able to reach there, not in less time, it took really good amount, many years for him to reach there. But how he reached from being no one, selling tea on a platform to be actually ruling the country is because of his mentors and he keeps selling. So he learned a lot from his mentors. So for someone who wants to be successful or be successful in any field, right mindset, mentor and community, your friends or people around you, they should be supported. I give my audience this example. If you take 2 rose plants, you keep one real rose plant in dark and don't water it. Okay. And one rose plant in bright sunlight, nurture it, say good words to it. Which rose plant will you?
The one in the sunlight.
Both are rose. Both have inborn talent to grow. So that is my environment. So when someone says कि उसका inborn talent है नहीं,
Inborn talent.
नहीं,
हमेशा नहीं matter करता until you actually give it a room to grow.
yes.
And I think it's a very inspiring story you have just narrated. And again, myself, I'm very inspired by listening to you because there are so many things me also need to learn in order to grow where I have to reach. And on top of it, audience, I would also like to add another thing which is needed is consistency, which you have seen her talking. She said that she kept that routine for 3 long years, 3.5 years. So you might not know, there might be just one step, you must be one step behind, and that one single step will take you to the place where you might not have imagined that you will reach.
Very true.
So sometimes, and I think there's a very good story. I think I made a story out of and I actually in my previous channel where I said that I do multiple things. I had a playlist where I used to do animated stories for kids.
Okay.
And there I designed a story where it was like there was a man and he used to there was a stone, basically a bigger stone, and the king asked everybody to break it, and there was diamond inside. So everybody was good, people were called from the entire village, and they had a good kind of a hammer to hit on it and break that open. Nobody was able to do so, and at the end, it was given, there was one person who tried 100 times, but then he gave up, and then it went to another one. There was one last person in the village. He had no skill set of picking up a hammer as well. He came in and he said everybody had tried, like, can you try your luck? And he just hit it once and then it broke. So people applauded the person who took that last hammer strike to break that open. But then you will have to understand what the other person missed. He did that 100 strike, but he missed that 101, which was the last one which he would have, if he would have done it, the credit would go to that person instead of the new person. So this is something you have to understand. Maybe sometimes the path looks very clumsy or it looks very tiring and depressing, but then it's not that you are not on the right path, you are on the right path just a step behind.
you are just one step
One
away.
step away.
So in my signature also I say that you are just one book away. And on Instagram, when I teach Instagram, so I tell them probably you're just one viral read away. You might have created 1,000 or 2,000 content and you are like depressed now, मुझे रिची नहीं. Who knows that the next content you only create is going to go viral, and then everything goes viral once you have one piece of content. Same thing for my authors. Maybe the first book is not going to go do well, the second book is not going to do well, but the moment your fourth book does well or you get a Booker Prize, everyone going to come and see, okay, what is the work this author has done, and they will read all the books. So we're just one step away. Very, very nice.
And with this, I think we'll summarize the entire conversation. It's very important that you have a focus, have an objective.